So hi, I'm Lindsey. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I'm celebrating recovery over drugs, alcohol, sexual sin, gambling, and I'm glad to be here.
Glad to be here.
So God has been with me from the very beginning. And I thought it was very fitting. The first words in the song tonight are the same as the first words of my testimony. Already starting. It just showed that really God always shows me I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Jeremiah 1:5 tells us that he knew me before he formed me in my mother's womb. He had plans for me from day one. It just took me a little while to fully understand this. My mom and dad adopted me, and my dad, who was a family physician, actually delivered me into the world. My biological mom was one of my father's patients. She was a young teenage woman who needed help, and I don't know, that conversation between my dad and her had to have been just the coolest thing ever, because that's really how set my life's path in order there. Although I have not been able to meet her, I'm truly grateful for her selfless actions and taking care of me and offering me to my mom and dad. So God really placed me exactly where I was meant to be even before birth. And then a little over a year and a half later, my parents adopted my beautiful sister as well. And we were really, the luckiest kids in the world growing up. I had all of my needs and wants met and exceeded. I went to private schools. My parents let me play every sport I wanted to. I had tons of friends. There was really never a dull moment. I have nothing negative to say about my childhood. Granted, sometimes my mom would have to tell me no and then coined the term Lindsey no in my younger years. But really overall, I felt safe, loved, cared for by my parents growing up, and my dad being my number one fan. He was like my person. And one of my favorite memories was when we would go to our lake house. I was basically like the adrenaline junkie child, and so was my dad. So we really paired together, and then my sister and my mom kind of paired off. So they're doing crafts while we're going on the lake at 6 a.m. when it was completely calm, racing the sea-doos down the coves and just wreaking havoc. So that's really how our relationship was. Along with him taking us out fishing and tubing, and we really did all of the things. He was the coolest dad alive to me. He worked so hard to give us everything we could ever want. And then he was also present in our lives, which just now thinking on that is just wild to me because I'm a single mom trying to do all of those things as well. And so I really was just super lucky. And my mom and dad, both of them really definitely made me feel loved in every way possible. They also understood me and my goofy, stubborn ways and loved me for me as well. So onto my elementary and middle school years, which I really like to think of as character building, hence my big personality now. I was often bullied, due to my classic nerdy appearance. I had Coke bottle glasses due to my terrible vision. And I really had these lovely, braces from 2nd to 8th grade and all the appliances that go with it. It was really cute. So, I never really dwelled on this though, although it did give me kind of a sense of inadequacy and low self-esteem kind of from the start in life. I did not dwell on this though because my dad was always there to tell me that everything happens for a reason. And then looking back on his statement at that time, I now have a new phrase that I really cling on to in recovery, and that is accepting hardships as a pathway to peace. So that's my favorite line in that prayer. Although sometimes, it felt hard to fit in. My childhood and preteen years were full of opportunities and fun. And then shockingly enough, going to Catholic elementary, middle, and high school, what was lacking in my life was really a strong sense of spirituality. While learning Bible stories, verses, prayers in religion class, and committing everything to memory, so I could get an A on a test, I did not really feel or know who the Holy Spirit was. We went to church on Sundays and with my grandparents or my close friends, but I did not, feel the Holy Spirit goosebumps until I walked through those doors about 4.5 years ago. Yeah, so I did, however, always believe in Jesus Christ. Like, there wasn't a set moment in my life where I was like, oh, this is, how I found Christ. Like, there was nothing ever in my mind that he was not real and he was not the one who saved me. He's always just, been the one. Probably because from day one, he, put me here on earth the way that he did and really saved my life, from day one. So, so really without having the Spirit to like guide me through life, that was detrimental to my high school experience. I moved from one awkward phase in middle school to a brand new phase of dork in high school, without glasses and braces, now, but we added some acne into the mix. Thank God we got rid of that. Anyway, sadly, God was not someone I turned to in order to gain my confidence, though. I began looking toward people, popularity, attention, cigarettes, and alcohol was really where I started, aiming my focus. These worldly things were at the top of my list of goals beginning my freshman year. And then this mindset, along with not making the sports teams or dance teams that I wanted to make, that kind of really, it gave me the ammo I needed to really start becoming like the rebel, rebel Catholic school girl that I became. Sneaking out on weekends with my friends to go drink with boys until the early hours became the norm. And then around my birthday in April of my freshman year, my dad, who hardly ever came down with a cold, he went to the hospital with like an extreme migraine. And that day forever changed our lives as he was diagnosed with a glioblastoma, like brain cancer. While I knew that this was a life-changing diagnosis, in the forefront of my mind, I just thought he would end up being okay and life would go back to normal. My defense mechanism at this point was denial, and unfortunately, I did not know about principle 1, realize I am not God, I admit that I am powerless. The truth was that most people diagnosed with this type of cancer died shortly after their diagnosis, but I just could not take that answer. As I was already dabbling in partying and drinking, I turned to alcohol to numb everything, and I added taking my friend's Adderall prescriptions to the mix. This not only calmed down my ADD brain, but if I took enough of it, I could literally accomplish anything. And then combining it with alcohol was really the ultimate distraction at that point in time from my dad's deteriorating state. Excuse me. So immediately following his diagnosis, he went into surgery. As this was not an easy task for his surgeon because the tumor was like centrally located in his brain. And I remember the day he came to kind of home and everything from surgery. And that day, I realized that day that the smartest man I knew, he came home and he was unable to even read due to them having to remove portions like of his brain along with the tumor. And then just that daily reality of what was going on, it didn't faze him at all. He really rolled with the punches like he was such a fighter. He truly did believe everything happens for a reason. But I, on the other hand, was not able to accept any of it at all. I remember asking God to give me all of the pain that he was going through and just to take it away from him. I just wanted to literally switch places with him. As a 14-year-old, thinking that now it just kind of seems wild. But it was just unbearable for any of us to watch. It was so unbearable that I was not even able to stay around him often enough to actually say goodbye. He passed away and left this earth in 2002, 2 years after his diagnosis. I was a junior in high school. His fight was over as he went to be with the Lord, but my fight was just beginning. The darkness I faced after my father passed was similar to how Job felt when he lost everything. I felt as though God did all of this to us, and all I could do was ask why all the time. I remember only wanting to go be with my dad in heaven, so my master plan at this point was to just slowly start killing myself with drugs and alcohol. I also learned how to shut off my feelings and emotions when I was around others, so enter sexual sin and promiscuity. I truly felt like I had nothing left to care about anymore. I let the enemy invade every area of my life. It was only by God's glory that I passed high school with a near 4-point GPA and was accepted to TU. out on my own with freedom to make my own choices was really the last thing I needed at this time. As life was beginning to become more unmanageable, I dropped out of college my senior year with only 18 hours of electives left to finish. And I have no clue at this point why my mom would purchase a home for me, but that's what happened. So with no responsibilities, I became a bartender and eventually a club DJ. And my lifestyle really from the age of 20 to 27 consisted of me waking up at 5 p.m. to begin drinking and taking Adderall, and it ended at whatever time my body decided to shut down. I was finally out of my ugly duckling stage and now was that girl that everyone wanted to date and be friends with. So enter codependency and dysfunctional relationships. Being alone was so terrifying to me that I would stay with the most awful men for so long. I just wanted to feel loved at the time. By the time the party was over and everyone went home, including whoever I was dating at the time, the loneliness and depression would completely overtake me. I would find myself desperately pleading with God to take my life, as I did not have the power to do so. I did try more than once to end everything, but then waking up the next morning to another day where no one knew about anything or about the pain I was going through, it was just gut-wrenching. I also knew that if they did, no one would actually care about it either. I added 2 more outlets to my list at this point, self-harm and gambling, basically just hitting the dopamine button from the minute I woke up until the minute I fell asleep. It was only a matter of time before I ended up in jail or dead at this point. But God, He had other plans for me, as He always does. In August of 2012, when I was 27, I found out I was pregnant. I knew God sent this baby to me, and I knew that I needed to get my life together. My prayers were immediately answered by Him, as He literally took away the desire to smoke, drink, and take pills. I would literally have like an adverse reaction if I even smelled alcohol. Like, it was amazing. And so, from this point, I really began to realize like the power of the Lord, because there's no way I could have done that on my own. I was too far in. And then, along with all of this, my child's father and I, we had only been together for a short period of time, and needless to say, once I got pregnant, it was not a very easy time for us. He did not want to become a father and wanted me to get an abortion. Clearly, this would never happen in a million years, because it would never be a thought in my head because of the way I came into this world. God has a plan for all of us, before we're born. Cameron Farrar, my oldest daughter now, she was born in April of 2013. She really gave my life like meaning and purpose again, and it looked like there was, like this was gonna be an end to my pain and suffering, but I was wrong. There were multiple medical complications during Cameron's birth, including an epidural gone wrong, leaving me paralyzed on half of my body momentarily. Thankfully, they did not cause nerve damage. And then the medical team also made a terrible mistake, and months after Cameron was born, I received a diagnostic test that came back showing they had left gauze in my body after giving birth. This made me so sick that I was unable to even care for my newborn. I was seeing like a new doctor every 2 weeks, and then some of which would tell me I was crazy. I even made it all the way to Mayo Clinic to try to figure out what was going on. The symptoms were so debilitating that I was just exhausted all of the time. There was never a moment of peace or happiness once again, and so I turned straight back into what I knew best, which was trying to take Adderall for energy. That led me to alcohol, and then to the same exact, place that I was before I got pregnant. So I literally, was going down the same path. So I went to Cameron's father again, and we ended up having Kinsley, my second daughter. She was born in 2015. And then, the thoughts of becoming the perfect mom finally could happen at this point for me, because I felt much better. And then at that point, we had been in court for a while. So he was supposed to check into rehab, but never did. So he exited for 4 years and, came back just kind of recently to our lives. But needless to say, my perfect life did not happen. My car was totaled. And then there's just a series of events that just kept on happening in my life. I felt like evil was just following me around, like poking me until I broke. And of course, eventually I did again. But at this time, this was my rock bottom. I fell into an extremely rough crowd that I met at the casino one night, and they introduced me to a drug that was 10 times stronger than Adderall and lasted much longer. This drug stole my mind and my body from me at this time, but it could never steal my soul because that has always belonged to Jesus. It only took 4 months of me using meth for me to lose absolutely everything. I was arrested twice and booked into a mental institution for psychosis as well. I am grateful that it was only 4 months for me to just get through all of that. It was awful, but I'm grateful for it. My mom had to take over guardianship of my children. I was kicked out of my house. The second time I was booked into jail, I knew that it was just like it for me. I knew I was finished. But guess what? God had other plans. He gave me 6 days of detox in jail, and then my mom actually paid for me to go to rehab, which was shocking at this time. That was only from God as well, because I don't know how she would even give me, it was like on my 50th chance at that point. So, and then, as I was in jail, it's so cliche, but literally the first thing I did was read the Bible, and I was reading the Beatitudes. And the one that really stuck out to me was, "Happy are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Matthew 5:4. I had been looking to the wrong people to comfort me for years. I needed God's love to make me feel better. I heard God's voice for the first time when I was in rehab. When I was debating on whether or not to go to an AA meeting, I literally had my hand on my door handle to go back into my room because I was too scared to go, share my thoughts and feelings. And he said, "Be fearless." And I'm like, okay. So I went to my first AA meeting in rehab, it was awesome. And then he gave me jail, and then he gave me rehab. And so at that point I had, 30 days of sobriety under my belt. And then I got to finally go home. So I was finally back home with my babies, and we actually moved into a new home. Life felt right, but my body and mind were not fully there yet. 17 years of addiction had done a number on me, and I did not know how to do life. My brain had left off really where I picked up drugs and alcohol at the age of 16. I had to learn how to do life, and I'm still happily learning this every day. God told me to, at that point, I really was struggling, like, how am I going to even function? And God told me to give him a year. 1 Peter 5:10-11 says, "After you have suffered a little while, our God, who is full of kindness through Christ, will give you his eternal glory. He personally will pick you up and set you firmly in place and make you stronger than ever." What I did not know at this time is that God placed us right next door to what I call my Jesus on earth neighbors. They brought me to Believers, and as I was walking in, the first song the worship team was singing had the lyrics, "The overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. It chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. Whew. And I knew I was home once I heard that. And to add a little cherry on top, this church offered CR, which I had actually not really heard about, where I met the most amazing sponsor ever, Linda. She told me from day one of group that she was, day one of me walking in the door, I'm like, I don't look like this, I don't act like this, I can probably not even say any normal words. She told me that she was proud of me. And I had honestly not heard that probably since my dad was alive. And I also realized that someone knew I was broken and still loved me, which was shocking. God really grasped a hold of me, and he changed my life path with everyone I met at Believers and CR. Don't copy the behaviors or customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. Romans 12:1. CR changed my life and the way I thought. Through faith and obedience to the Lord, after my 1 year I gave to him, let me tell you what he gave me. All of my court cases were dismissed. I had full custody of my children again. I quit smoking cigarettes, which was my last remaining addiction, minus Diet Cokes. We're still on that one. I lost my desire to go to the casino. I lost my desire to look at dating as sexual conquest. I started working out. I regained the energy to finish everything in my day without feeling sheer exhaustion. I lost my paranoid way of thinking. I started caring for other people other than myself. I succeeded in studying and passing a real estate licensing exam. I became a leader at CR. I became a trusted homeroom mom. I became a good mom who was present for both of my amazing children. I became a Girl Scout troop leader. Oh, I'm not done. Hang on. I made mom friends who are here tonight. A couple of them. I have real friends from church and CR. I am a sponsor and I am an accountability partner. I enjoy helping others and I enjoy giving to the homeless. I initially wrote this testimony a year and a half after being at CR. And now after being at CR for 4.5 years, this is what else he has given me. Answered prayers on a daily basis. I mean, I literally have people who will call me and be like, will you pray for me? Because I know your prayers get answered. Like, please pray. I know, it's so good. Even my mom, who is not necessarily on the same path as me, she's like, hey, can you pray? Pray this in. I have learned also that God will send me a partner when we are both ready. I do not have to search, so that takes a lot off of me. I am completing my 4th 12-step group tomorrow. Yeah. I have led and co-led 12-step groups. I have a successful career in not only real estate, but property management. He even gave me a 3rd job this year, and he got my kids into private school, the same one that I went to. Yeah, I'm crying every day after I drop them off at school lately. So everything comes full circle, you know. And then he's given me 5 years of sobriety, so I'm getting my chip in like 2 weeks for 5 years. Yeah. Yeah. And then also on top of everything, he has guided me to offer forgiveness to my children's father, who we're now building some sort of God-ordained relationship where he can see the girls and they'll know him, which is, I never would have thought even last year that would happen. What else? Awesome. Yeah. Okay, I got through that one. Okay, and so what I'm saying is God did all of this for this person. He transformed a meth-addicted criminal into a faithful disciple. There is not a day that goes by that I do not thank him for what he has done for me. He has also given me my true family here in this room. Even my friends were asking, they were like, are these all the people who normally come? And I'm like, basically, yeah, I've known all these people for like 4.5 years. And then to the newcomer, who also I hope is here tonight, what they say at the beginning of every meeting, you are not here by mistake. God literally led you here tonight. If you can do it, if I can do it, you can do it. I feel like all you have to do is try and give him a chance. Like, surrendering is scary at first, but boy, is it worth it in the end. We are all broken, and while it may seem we are not similar in our issues, we are all really the same. We are all sons and daughters of God, and the worse off you are, the bigger victory you'll have. If you ever need a friend to anonymously call or text, I really mean this, like, I am your person. I was there at one point not wanting to speak anything because I thought someone was going to, take me to jail. So I'm your person. And then just to end, anyone who belongs in Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone and the new life has begun. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Thanks for listening.